Happy Wednesday. It is hump day and it's also verdict day. So, as I talked yesterday and said, I did believe that P. Diddy probably, forget the P. Diddy, I'm going to call him Puffy, that's what I grew up calling him, has been found guilty of one of the charges. I'm sure most of you have already seen and know, but if you didn't, we'll just run down them again. So, when it comes down to the first charge of racketeering and conspiracy, he was found not guilty. That was the major one that could have landed him in jail for the rest of his life. Two, the second count of sex trafficking by force or coercion. He was found not guilty. The third count for transportation transportation or transporting of prostitutes. He was found guilty. I believe that carries up to 10 years. I'm not sure though. Count four of sex trafficking. He was found not guilty. And count five, once again, for engaging in the transportation of prostitution, he was found guilty. As I was just talking, and I felt this way, pretty much the entire time. If you look back on some of the other videos that I've done, a couple things I want to bring up. First thing I want to bring up is about how slanted coverage can be. And this is why, in my estimation, it is important to have representation from all different type of people, where, you have people who are reflective of people who are being put on trial or whatever coverage it is. We see it a lot of times in sports. We see it a lot of times in just different areas where, because the media is so non-black, you have a lot of people casting their own opinions that would seem so. Let me give you for instance. So some of the people I watch or have tuned into, Nancy Grace, a couple of the other people, they have a very, very as a negative connotation, even in this case, towards him. You can have a negative way of looking at a person or how you view their character or integrity, but when you're talking about legal stuff, and this is where a lot of times black people feel as though there's an unfair shake with things, because it's not always what happened. Are they guilty of doing stuff? But what are they guilty of? What are they actually guilty of? So, as we all saw the video and people have talked about it before, he was guilty of domestic violence. Cassie's team had a chance to come and say, hey, listen, because the statute of limitation in New York had been lengthened. So that's why people may say, well, why did Puffy settle so fast in less than 24 hours? Because her lawyers pushed the button and said, hey, listen, if you don't settle by tomorrow, and it was a Friday, can't remember specifically which date, but if you don't settle, we're going forward with criminal charges of domestic violence. She chose to take the money. She chose to take, I believe they're saying now, a $20 million payment from him, a payout, and then a $10 million subsequent payment that will come from the now defunct hotel that they were in. That parent company is going to pay her another $10 million because obviously her and her husband had no motion going on. And what motion mean no hustle, no anything going on to generate any substantial income. So they did what a lot of other people would do. If she would have taken him for domestic violence initially and then sued him afterwards, I could get it. But it's always a bad deal. It always is going to look bad because, people always want to lump all victims in together. There are a lot of victims out here who cannot afford to get help. They can't even afford to sue somebody that's that powerful. They can't, they're not in those types of circles. But here is somebody and people, because a lot of times what we do is that we try to compare celebrity, money, and superstardom to what would happen on an average everyday level. So let's talk about that. On an average everyday level, most of us, probably all of us, have engaged in something, maybe not necessarily illegal, but may appear immoral. all right, may appear, just people cheating on their husbands and wives, adultery. That's totally immoral. But guess what? Is it going to get you locked up? Are you going to divorce your husband or wife necessarily because of it? A lot of times the answer is no. But when we have people that are on a higher level, we try to judge them with a different comb. Judging in the court of public opinion, yes, because with privilege, with power, you need, becomes great responsibility. But that great responsibility never translates to what happens outside of someone's bedroom. You may not like what they do. You may not be a fan of what they do. But I promise you, there's a person out there that's not a fan of what you do. There are people out there that may, they may look at what you do and say, I can't believe this person is doing that. Or I can't believe they do that. Or I can't believe that they live like that. So when you get people in the media space that, and I'm talking about high, big credentialed media, is because two things, because once again, one is, like I said, there's a slanted opinion. The second thing is that they all ate off of it. Everybody got millions and millions of views to see this, to cover a salacious case, a sex scandal that allegedly involved racketeering charges, and he forced these women to do this. He forced them while paying them at the same time, huh? In different cultures, and I want to say this because, I probably won't do another one until they start going to talking about sentencing, his sentencing. And even with that, they may let him out today or this week, whatever, on time served, or until they actually come up with a sentencing, because now the case is over. He's no harm to anybody else. But you get sick of it. I get sick of it. Because how many times is this going to happen over and over again? So I guess black men are the only ones with discipline issues. I guess that's just the way it is. And then somebody always bring up, well, Harvey Weinstein, such and such. Right, but he had multiple accusers who came out and said that he did what he did. That he power played. He used his influence to get them into prominent positions by using sex. In these two cases, and like I said, these two ones that you brought up about Puffy, Cassie was getting paid, I think, $20,000 a month for allowance or whatever was happening. Had cars, houses on both coasts, rode around. There's thousands of pictures out there of him and with her. So, living a great life. I'm sure every time they went out, even when they went to the Met Gala, I'm sure she wasn't shopping at H&M. I'm sure she wasn't shopping at Walmart. I'm sure everything that in there was couture. It has to come to a point where, as adults, as people, we have to start pointing out things that are wrong, regardless as to how you feel about a person. Either it's right or it's wrong when it comes down to throwing someone in jail. Just because you don't like what he did in the bedroom, or like the fact that he had that video where it showed him with her in the hotel, you may not like some of the stuff he did. You may not like the fact that his artists struggle. I didn't even like that. It seemed like he should have done more for his artists and just different things like that. But also, sometimes you got to ask, when does it stop? He put you on the platform, on the stage, to be able to be whatever you want it to be. So in a sense, nobody is innocent in this. He may be the more guilty morally, but overall, everybody is complicit in this. There's no way on earth you got ex-bodyguards, you got this person, you got that person, talking about people. Is that the kind of way, the kind of thing that we've come to as grown, older adult people, people in their 40s and 50s and 60s? And you want to know why it's done? Because everybody wants to find the quickest way to the bag. People want to find the quickest way to I used to hang with such and such, so I'm going to tell all of these salacious stories. Even me, I got a million stories about me and my squad. You think I would ever get up here and tell it? No. Of course, it's not going to make me the kind of money it is telling about Diddy or anything like that. But you know what? Because I'm a man of integrity. Like I've said before, a great Jay-Z line. Stop being a waiter, go get a meal yourself. Let me say it again. Stop being a waiter, go get a meal yourself. All of these older guys sitting around talking, bashing people on the internet and saying stuff about old stories because for whatever reason, whatever skill you had, whatever talent you had, or maybe because you were a big guy, you were in the right place at the right time, running around telling all of these 20-something, 30-year-old stories about all of these older men, all of these other men that you were around. Cool. We all love to hear the stories. But should it get to a point where you feel glad, you feel graciousness because it went towards having somebody get locked up? That what we do nowadays? My brothers and sisters out there, that's what we do? Because we're all in pursuit of happiness, or we're all in the pursuit of moneyness, which I know isn't a word, but is that what we do? So that's the second part. Everybody ate off of this. And a lot of times, like I said, I can think back because I'm old enough to know and remember, because I remember I was home for spring, for break or whatever. And I had to be home. I was home for whatever reason. And so I'm watching, I was in I think a Walmart or somewhere when they read the OJ verdict back in, I believe it was 95. And everybody was happy, but I was younger then. And everybody was happy, even in my mind, even still to this day. Do I feel like he did it? Yes. Had something to do with it? Yes. But you know why a lot of people who were happy back then was because it always felt like black people got railroaded in the system. Black people never got a fair shake, even if they were rich, in the system when it comes to things being legal, things being, especially to those levels. All right. We know a lot of people, especially with money and influence, can get off on things that are on a lower level. But let me get back to the original point. You go in, you tarnish this guy's legacy, you raid his house, you do all of these things to make a person feel like what? You're no bigger than the system. You know, you're still gonna be under whatever we say it is. Don't you ever think that you can get too big? I mean, what is it? Nobody is perfect, but what is it? Why does it keep being, the same kind of thing over and over again? Where's all of the stuff for the people who are non-black that are celebrity? Where's all the heat for them? And I'm not saying that it should be, but I'm just saying to you, what nobody can ever put together why it always has to be. Why is it appearing to be this way? And every time the only person people could bring up is Harvey Weinstein. And I can name you at least 5, 6, 7 huge, powerful black men who had to go through some type of legal system to either prove their innocence, but get proven guilty most times. So today I am glad that he won't spend the rest of his life in jail because of something that was crazy. Y'all posted, you found guns, you found rifles, you found stuff with scratched off serial numbers. What happened to that? What happened to that? Where's all the other people's at? Where's the capo at? Where's the general? Where's the lieutenant? Where's the I guess he would be the general. Where is the foot soldiers, the street guys? Where's all of these people that were in RICO charges? Unnecessary. It was a reach and it was a grab and it was BS. But we all know with federal court they have a 98% or 90-something% prosecution rate, conviction rate. And to me, this stuff is serious because, like I always say, it could be any one of us tomorrow. But there needs to be good legal standing for you to bring up these types of charges on people, whether you like them or not. Life isn't about whether it is about whether you have good or bad relationships. Life is about that. But when it comes down to being right and legal and doing the right thing, you could think that he's a scumbag. You could think that he's nasty. You could think that he's a gay weirdo, whatever you want to think. But those are the lines that you should try to prosecute someone on. Not because they are a little wild and freaky and out there or do whatever. Just like even with the blowing up of the car. They supposedly have fingerprints of a woman whose car who did it. Did Puffy maybe have something to do with it? Who knows? Probably. But does blowing up a car get you life in prison? Still ain't seeing any murder. Still ain't seen any pedophilia. Still haven't seen any, all of this crazy, wild stuff that allegedly he was a part of. So, in ending, I just say, good. This was a good day for the justice system. Good. It played itself out the way, because technically, I guess if he was flying prostitutes out, that's, he technically was wrong, legally. But in life, we can't live through life thinking that doing these kind of things, railroading people. Because if you talk to most people, a lot of people in the black community, they will tell you a lot of regular people have been railroaded because they didn't have the means to get a good lawyer to be able to poke holes or to deal with some of these other stuff. Even people who are poor, who are not black, other people, a lot of people will probably tell you that they got incarcerated, not that they were innocent necessarily, but they weren't guilty to the extent of where they should be serving life sentences or 20 years or whatever it is. What I've learned how to do is that I've learned how to think outside of myself. Meaning that I don't necessarily need to like you. But I should respect you. And I should say, hey, look, legally, what happened? You saw my take. If you haven't, you can watch it on the whole Carmelo Anthony thing when he stabbed the kid. I felt as though he was dead wrong for doing that. It doesn't matter to me, like, you know what I mean? Because like I said, we grew up where you had to use these. And it's cool. If you didn't want to do that, then guess what? You ran your butt home or you did whatever. But there's no way on earth that I don't care what skin color you are. At this age, I'm going to look at things from a factual perspective. I'm not going to say, oh, well, he should get off because white people have been killing black people for years. That's not, we already know that. But we have to take things on a case by case basis. But hey, you know how the game goes. We'll talk about it later. Live life. Don't let life live you.